Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Tuesday, the 31st of July, comes to you from London. We start by looking at the dollar index. Dollar just weaker the last few days, so back to short-term bearish, just selling off a little bit there, but still holding on to its bullish position. This does look like a continuation pattern where we saw the rise for a few months, sideways move, we break to a new high, and then rise again. Of course, we might be hitting some long-term resistance there as well. And looking at the euro, we see euro strengthening on that weaker dollar, but still very much in that move down, sideways pattern, next move down phase. So we still do have a lot of short-term downside targets hanging over us as well. Japanese yen, we're seeing the dollar kicking higher here this morning, so that's probably the first signs that the sell-off in the dollar is nearing an end. Sterling fairly flat ahead of Thursday's UK interest rate decision, and euro sterling, we're seeing sterling just sinking a little bit lower there, and against the Swiss franc it's also sunk lower, though just improving slightly this morning. And against the Aussie dollar we were as low as 176.50 yesterday, this morning, and we're just recovering some of that lost ground. Bitcoin was through the $8,000 level yesterday, but has recovered this morning back to above $8,000, just hitting some resistance here on the lagging line on that medium-term chart, but starting to look a little bit better as we wander out of the downtrend there. US stocks had a turbulent day yesterday. We saw the S&P 500 index little change, but starting to come through on the short-term cloud, and the Nasdaq did sell off quite substantially yesterday, and we're seeing that move through the cloud this morning. So we are bearish now in the short term. The same on the Dow. We didn't quite come into bearish territory, but we were down overnight. And then the Russell 2000 index also sinking lower there below the cloud. Looking at the futures this morning, the S&P is up slightly, and the Nasdaq E-mini is up 0.2%. So it does look like we'll see a little bit of a recovery into the open today. FTSE is up slightly this morning in the UK. The UK mid caps index also up a little bit, but in the doldrums. DAX is pushing a little bit higher, so holding on to its bull trends there, and the CAC Current also looking a bit better this morning as well. Bullish above the cloud on all three time frames, and still upside targets there. Tokyo overnight was down 0.75%. The Hang Seng Index was also down, and the Chinese market really just struggling in the doldrums there. Weaker numbers out in China overnight, underwhelming really. And also seeing the Sensex just pushing higher, although it's off slightly today. Looking at the Aussie market looking pretty strong on all three time frames, nudging those all-time highs. Short-term upside targets here on the chart. We've got quite a good cluster of upside targets here: 2%, 2.7%, and 4% higher, and lots of upside targets there on the medium-term chart. So some 5%. Some 5 targets there, all pushing higher for the Aussie market. So looking like it has got more potential to go higher. Brent crude was above $75 yesterday, just pulling back this morning, but still looking bullish. WTI not quite as clear a trend, a bit more sideways action there, but still looking pretty bullish. US nat gas falling back into the 270s at $2.79. And if we look at gold, gold back below 1220, just struggling and testing these support levels again. Interestingly, we've got a downside target not yet activated and an upside target that is activated. If you go to the 1 minute chart, we really see the micro picture, and we're just activating that downside target this morning to 1203. So that's not good news for gold, as we see here, which is pushing lower there. And that upside target here has come off the chart. So gold still looking a little bit bearish. Looking at silver, we see here also just struggling a little bit as well. Taking a look at 10-year Treasury yields, falling back to 2.95%. And just turning short-term bearish, so that push to 3%, just struggling there. Taking a look at the US tech majors, all had a fairly bad day yesterday. Apple now bearish below the cloud. Amazon also just pushing below the cloud as well, and Google also just holding on to its position after its strong results earlier in the month. Facebook went lower yesterday, so lower than the level that we saw it fall to last week. So that's bad for the share price. And Microsoft just holding on to its $107 level, but starting to come into short-term bearish territory. And last of all, Netflix sinking below the low we saw last week, also not so good. So a little bit of worrying signs there for US tech stocks. The Nasdaq was down 1.4% overall on the 100 index, so that is a worry. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.